How to make adjustments. Now, one of the things that's really important is how to make adjustments to your training plan. And you want to avoid these certain mistakes as well, which I'll mention within. So the three types of adjustments we want to recognize and address here is the test drive method, cramming, and spacing of your sessions. So test drive method, this is what you do when you want to make adjustments to your program. So say you're feeling off, just not feeling great leading into a session. How do you know when to adjust your session? Well, you can implement the test drive method. So what you do is you complete your warm-up in the first 5 minutes of the main set. Then ask yourself, how do you feel? And typically there'll be 3 scenarios that you run up into. The first one is you feel the same, still the same low energy. What you should do then in that circumstance is complete a very easy recovery and or mobility session. So easy meaning, again, zone 1, it's very conversational, just active recovery, just moving the body. If you're using heart rate, you could use resting heart rate plus 50 beats. So if your resting heart rate is 60, you add 50 beats to that, maximum you can go is 110 beats per minute. The second scenario is after completing the warm-up in the first 5 minutes of the main set, you feel better. You're like, oh, okay, I'm starting to feel good. Then just do the session as prescribed. Your body is ready to absorb that load. Now, the third scenario is if you feel worse, you need to stop and take the day off or only do mobility only. Your body's telling you it's not ready to do the intensity you're asking it to do. Listen to it, adjust, and you'll feel better the next day. Now, using this test drive method in the case of maybe you're feeling some symptoms like you're stuffed up, your nose is running, sore throat, you're feeling achy, those type of things. Especially with COVID, we need to be a little more careful with those things now. So one of the things you want to focus on if you feel those symptoms is increase your water intake, focus on quality nutrition, non-processed food, avoid added sugars. Then take the day off, or if you feel like training, keep the effort zone 1. So very, very easy. Use that heart rate guideline. So resting heart rate plus 50 beats maximum. And then you can do or just do a mobility session. Now, if your symptoms gets worse, then you need to discontinue your training, immediately consult with your coach and healthcare professional to make sure that if something needs to be dealt with, you deal with that and your health comes first. Once you're symptom-free for 2 consecutive days, you can resume normal training. Now, I see this mistake all the time that athletes start to feel guilty. They don't want to miss training, or maybe they feel, I'm okay, I'll just train through this sore throat or whatever. Without a doubt, every time this does 2 things. One is it prolongs your recovery time. And the second thing is it prolongs the time you do low quality sessions because you're dealing with the symptoms, your immune system's depressed, and you can't give the best quality possible. So it's always better to take a few days in the beginning, allow your body to recover, then resume normal training. Or you can try to train through it and then you'll have to take 2 weeks later or more because you've stressed your immune system and now the symptoms have gotten worse. Number 2, avoid cramming. So one of the things you want to do is if you miss a session on a particular day, do not add it to next day's training. This will typically lead to excess fatigue and impact the quality of future sessions. Training plans are designed with a specific load and intensity requirement on each day. So if you take a session from a previous day and add it to the existing, that's going to increase the fatigue ratio and decrease the quality of future sessions. Just treat each day as a clean slate. Do what's in the plan for that day and move forward. Number 3, spacing matters. Specifically with running, if you're running longer than 30 minutes and with some interval or any intensity, you want to spread those run sessions at least 48 hours apart so you're not loading the body with running intensity so close together. The reason being is running usually adds 2 to 4 times your body weight stress on each stride. So you want to limit that by spacing those run sessions out. At least 48 hours apart is more ideal for sure. As I mentioned before, strength sessions can be done immediately pre or post training for time efficiency. So you can make a strength session and a bike, or a strength session and a run, essentially one session. So you use that strength session as a warm up, or you could do it post session as well. The one thing about resistance training, remember, it's a complement to the swim, bike, and run training you're doing. So make sure that you're not lifting too heavy so that you're too sore, and that will negatively impact your training. Make sure that you're choosing a resistance, a weight that allows you to transition into your swim, bike, run sessions so that you can still have high quality. Lastly, you want to split bike and run interval sessions a minimum of 48 hours apart from each other to help with recovery, because you're loading the lower limbs both on a bike and run session, specifically with interval sessions. If you spread them out 48 hours, that will allow you to better support your recovery and quality of those sessions. Lastly, the 3 C's of preparation: confidence through purposeful practice. So in each practice, I suggest you just focus on one thing to do better. That will make your practice purposeful. So for example, maybe just working on your breathing and swimming, maybe on a section of your pedal stroke during your ride, your posture during your run, your form during a squat in a strength session, for example. Number 2, consistency over time. Consistency is king. The more consistent you are in your training, making those adaptations we talked about, the more consistent you are, the better prepared you are going to be for your event, the more your fitness will improve, and the more you'll be able to consistently develop your skill over time. And that will lead to being competent when it matters most during your event. Building that purposeful training done over time will build the confidence and competency to show up to your event ready to have a great day and enjoy the journey.